a plant that can save our planet. The subject I would like to talk about is hemp. Hemp is a plant with many virtues which are very noble and ecological. This plant could save our planet. But first, a little anecdote to prepare for the explanations. A few days ago, I went to a pharmacy where they were selling cannabis. At the counter, behind the glass, COVID-19 oblige, there was a large box with 10 or so small boxes. The display of this large box showed in large letters the reading cannabis. Ah, this country legalized cannabis, you would say. No, it is not the case. So what on earth is a box of cannabis doing on the counter of a pharmacy? Quite simply, because the pharmacist has no idea that the cannabis mentioned on the box is not quite correct, but the mention is written maybe to attract patients, also with a lack of education. First, a little introduction to hemp before the contents of the little boxes of the so-called cannabis is unveiled. In a video of a symposium of the non-profit organization Forum Addiction et Société, Dr. Dominique LOSSIGNOL mentions: on sait que la culture du chanvre apparaît il y a environ 10 000 ans. Donc, c'est quasiment une des premières plantes domestiques. Translation: we know that the cultivation of hemp appeared around 10,000 years ago, so it is almost one of the first domestic plants. Dr. LOSSIGNOL did not mention the word cannabis, but hemp. Is it the same plant? To answer this, a little detailed explanation is necessary. In English, the word hemp, H-E-M-P, is spelled H-E-M-P. In Dutch, the word hemp is translated to hennep, which sounds like hemp. In German, the word Hanf also resembles like the word hemp. The word hemp comes from the word kemp, which comes from the word canvas, which again comes from the word canvas, and finally cannabis or cannabis. Hemp is a species of the great cannabis family, but hemp is not medical cannabis. The Latin word for hemp is Cannabis ruderalis. The Latin words for medical cannabis are Cannabis sativa and Cannabis indica. Cannabis sativa is often used during the day, while Cannabis indica is often used just before going to sleep. Cannabis ruderalis is therefore not the same plant as Cannabis sativa or Cannabis indica. We can distinguish two groups in the great cannabis family. First group, the medical cannabis group. Second group, the cannabis food supplement group. The group of medical cannabis is cannabis that contains THC, the molecule that makes a person high. The leaf of Cannabis indica contains 7 leaflets. Here is a picture. The leaf of Cannabis sativa contains 9 leaflets. Here is a picture. On this third picture, you can easily compare the numbers of the leaflets, 7 and 9, but also the difference in colors, dark and light, and the width of the leaflets. Sativa 9, Indica 7. Medical cannabis is sold in many countries in pharmacies, as it is the case in Uruguay, Germany, the Netherlands, etc. Medical cannabis can also be sold in medical cannabis dispensaries, as it is the case in California, Colorado, Florida, etc. For an analogy, we could say that medical cannabis can be compared with wine, which we remember comes from grapes. The group of cannabis food supplement is cannabis that does not contain THC, the molecule that thus makes a person high. Some examples of cannabis food supplement: flowers, oil, seeds. The leaf of cannabis food supplement contains 5 leaflets. Here is a picture. We can easily distinguish the differences when the plant shows its leaflets, like it is in the photo of Cannabis sativa, Cannabis indica, and Cannabis ruderalis. Sativa 9, Indica 7, ruderalis 5 leaflets. Here is an important note. Since flowers and oil from medical cannabis and flowers and oil from cannabis food supplement look like 2 drops of water, distinction is hardly possible with the naked eye, and distinction is also not possible through smell. This is how making a distinction between the words medical cannabis and cannabis food supplement is essential. The cannabis food supplement group is sold in almost every country in the world, for instance, in pharmacies and medical cannabis dispensaries, but also in a new kind of store called cannabis shops, or sometimes also called cannabis boutiques. For an analogy, we could say that cannabis food supplement can be compared with grape juice, which, remember, also comes from grapes. The derivatives of grapes are wine and grape juice, 2 substances which give completely different effects and are not at all comparable. Yet, wine and grape juice both come from the same source, that is, grapes. The analogy explains. The derivatives of the large cannabis family are medical cannabis and cannabis food supplement, 2 substances with totally different effects and not at all comparable. Yet, medical cannabis and cannabis food supplement both come from the same source, that is, the plant named cannabis. Did our story of the boxes in this famous pharmacy contain cannabis from the medical cannabis group or cannabis from the cannabis food supplement group? Since there was only written cannabis on the big box, it could easily have been assumed to be medical cannabis, as the boxes were sold in a pharmacy. Who says pharmacy says medical, isn't it? Indeed, the name on this box should have been written cannabis food supplement. The same reflection can be made with medical cannabis dispensaries. If there is only the word cannabis written, this would be incorrect. Patients with their doctor's prescription of medical cannabis might believe that a box contains medical cannabis when in fact it contains cannabis food supplement. The flowers or the oil of cannabis food supplement resemble to the flowers or the oil of medical cannabis. It is only by consuming them that one can distinguish. And finally, in CBD shops, it would be more correct and above all more honest for the seller of cannabis food supplement flower or cannabis food supplement oil to mention it in full, notably cannabis food supplement. By writing only the word cannabis, the doubt remains. The great moment of suspense of the contents of the box of cannabis at the pharmacy. The box with cannabis contained hemp seed oil. We are now ready to understand the title of our topic, which is a plant that can save our planet. Cannabis food supplement comes, as we mentioned before, from the plant Cannabis ruderalis. Cannabis ruderalis has a lot of assets. Here are just a few examples, but there are many more. Number one, diet. Seeds, seed oil, flowers, and leaves used as a food supplement. But it is above all the seeds that could save humans in distress. People who suffer from famine, children in Africa who die from malnutrition, 2 tablespoons of hemp seeds per day gives 6 grams of full protein, lots of vitamin B1, B3, B6, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, and zinc. I don't have the heart to deprive those who need it so much. In addition, the plant is a natural substance and very easy to grow, even in Africa. Cannabis ruderalis can save these people from starvation death. Number 2, hempcrete. Hempcrete are bricks of hemp. When we construct our buildings with exhaustible materials like wood, we are slowly but surely destroying our planet. We need these trees for our ecosystem. As you can see from a picture of a quote from Prince Charles of Wales. The lungs of the planet. We need our trees so that they can serve as the lungs for our earth. Every time we cut down a tree, it takes years to grow a new tree, whereas hemp grows in 3-4 months. The hemp stalks can be transformed in a very ecological way into hemp bricks. Buildings made out of hemp bricks are also resistant to water and humidity and are very sturdy. With the hemp stalk, we can also manufacture insulation for these buildings. Number 3, hemp plastic. In other words, plastic made out of hemp. We can replace plastics from petroleum refining. These synthetic polymers destroy our plants and animals. The causes of cancer due to the polluted air we inhale are also attributed by these fossil fuels. The plastic made from natural hemp polymers will save our plants, our animals, and our health because the combustion is not as harmful as it comes from a plant. Indeed, by growing hemp, the plant absorbs our excess CO2. Petroleum oil does not do this noble gesture. In addition, the methods of transforming hemp into hemp plastic are more ecological. Did you know that hemp plastic are 10 times stronger than metal? Number 4, fabric. Our beautiful hemp plant contains fibers that can be transformed, like Cinderella, into fabric. The original jeans of Levi Strauss was made out of hemp, like the uniforms of the American Civil War soldiers in the 19th century. But depending on how the plant is cultivated, you can also make fine fabrics like silk. The nobles, like the pharaohs, the priests in ancient Egypt, wore clothes made of hemp. They called this tissue shesh. The word shisha is derived from it. The tons of cotton production pollute our land with pesticides and chemical fertilizers. It also impacts the quality of our fruits and vegetables, and therefore our physical and mental health. Hemp does not need pesticides or fertilizers. As a side note, in India, the natives call hemp the weed because it grows wildly and very easily. Number 5, paper. This plant, hemp, contains cellulose and therefore also has the virtue of being able to give to us human beings who love to read books, paper. And let's not forget the tissue paper and toilet paper. Why cut down trees? And now that we have the substitute solution, the hemp paper, why cut down trees for nothing? Number 6, depollution of soil and air. The roots of the hemp plants are very long and robust. They penetrate the earth well. As a result, they oxygenate the earth and clean it up of heavy metals and other pollution done by us humans. At the same time, the hemp leaves filter the air from radioactivity and excess CO2. The ozone layer is not ready to recover if we do not take action for the health of our nature. Our gesture, hemp plantations worldwide, everywhere. Number 7, the economy, and work. Hemp has the ability to adapt to grow everywhere, all over the world. It is true that in hot countries, hemp grows more vigorously and abundantly. For humanity and for peace between countries and people, we could ask hot countries like India and Africa to grow a lot of hemp in order to give the opportunity to make these countries rich. Colder countries can open factories to make materials like hemp bricks, papers, fabrics with noble clothes, cars, buses, and hemp planes. Think about all our plastics that we use in our food packaging. We use a lot of plastic, so why not take this opportunity to employ a lot of people? Less unemployment equals more wealth for workers and therefore more money for the states. More work also means more people who feel useful for the society, and therefore this decreases the frustrations. Less frustration, less war. Perhaps we can finally attain peace. I believe that in the bottom of my heart. I feel responsible for the future of this planet and the next generations who will live here. That is the reason of this sharing. Here is an image from a book on hemp by Jack Herer in English, which has been translated into French and other languages. The emperor wears no clothes. And to conclude this topic, medical cannabis, which is part of the great cannabis family, of which medical cannabis could be said to be the cousin of cannabis food supplement, has also a part in saving our planet and the people who live in it. Medical cannabis can save a person on a physical, psychological, emotional, and social level. This is a very broad subject and deserves more attention.